Speak up. Think clear. The power of debate for English learners. Introduction. Do you feel like your thoughts are like quick birds, but when you try to speak English, they get stuck? You know what you want to say, but the words don't come out right, or they come too late. That feels bad, doesn't it? Many people learning English feel this way. You might know all the rules and many words, but when you need to talk, share ideas, or join a chat, you feel quiet and your thoughts get lost. You wish you could speak English easily, share your ideas without fear, and connect with others. What if there was a way to make this happen? A way that helps you use words, not just learn them? Learning English often focuses on understanding it, reading, listening, and knowing rules. These are good, but what about the other side? What about making English, speaking it fast and clear, especially when you need to think quickly? Many ways teach you about English, but not always how to have a real talk. They can make you feel like you have a nice box of tools, but you don't know how to build something great when you need to. Here's a strong, but often forgotten, way to practice. We call it debate for English fluency. Don't worry, this isn't about arguing or fighting. It's about using the idea and shape of debate as a special training for your English brain. Think of a planned talk where you share your ideas, say why you think so, and listen well to others. In debate for English fluency, you build reasons for your ideas, explain them, and, very importantly, listen to other thoughts. When someone disagrees, you must think fast and answer clearly. This practice is like exercise for your mind. It makes you use English quickly in a lively talk. It makes you find words from your memory, build sentences on the spot, and share your thoughts with confidence. It's a direct way to speak better, use your words more easily, and feel more sure when you talk in English. In this book, we will see how this works. We will look at how debates help your brain learn and use English better. You will learn how listening well to others helps you understand more, and how needing to answer fast makes your speaking quicker and more natural. We will show you simple steps to start practicing, even if you are new. You will find easy tasks and clear examples to help you build your reasons, listen better, and speak more clearly. We will help you find chances to practice and make every talk a way to get better. Learning to speak English well is a trip, and sometimes it feels long. But with the right tools, it can be fun. Debate for English fluency is one of the best tools you can use. It's about more than just words. It's about learning to think in English, share your ideas strongly, and connect with the world. So get ready to find your voice, make your mind sharper, and truly speak out in English. Let's start this fun trip together. 1. Learning English with debate. Imagine Sarah. She came to a new country with many dreams but found it hard to speak. English words, clear in her mind, got mixed up when she tried to say them. She understood lessons and could read well, but when it was time to talk and share her thoughts, she felt nervous. School classes taught grammar and words, but they didn't help her speak with ease. Sarah felt like she was looking at the English-speaking world from behind a glass window. Then Sarah found debate. At first, standing up and speaking in front of people in a language that wasn't her first seemed scary. But debate has a clear structure, focusing on ideas and reasons. This slowly changed everything. Debate for English fluency, as we call it, is not just about arguing. It's a strong, active way to learn. It means building arguments, listening very well, and then speaking your thoughts clearly and quickly. It's like learning to swim by jumping in the water, not just reading about it. One of the first things Sarah noticed was how debate helped her with words. When you get ready for a debate, you learn about a topic. You read articles and find information. Suddenly, you're not just learning random words. You're learning words that fit together, words that explain big ideas. You might debate about nature, and you'll learn words like keeping things safe for the future, using power from the sun or wind, protecting plants and animals, and how things affect each other. You also learn how to use these words in sentences. Debate makes you build arguments, and this means using words that connect ideas, explaining why things happen, and showing how different thoughts link up. You learn to say things like, because of this, that happens, or this leads to that. It's not just knowing a word, it's knowing how to use it to make your point. This helps you build stronger, more interesting sentences, going beyond simple phrases to say more with more power. But debate is a two-way path. You have to listen as much as you speak. This is where the amazing part of listening better happens. In a debate, you can't just wait for your turn to talk. You have to listen carefully to what the other side is saying. What are their main points? What proof do they use? You need to understand their words, how they sound, and what they mean so you can answer them. This is very different from just listening to a teacher. In debate, you are actively listening for weak spots, for points you can question, or for ideas you can agree with and build on. This strong focus helps you notice small details, the way a word is said, the small difference in meaning between two close words, or the feeling behind someone's voice. You learn to listen not just to hear, but to understand and reply. This makes your ears better at hearing the English language. And what about speaking? This is often the hardest part for people learning English. Sarah felt this very strongly. But debate is like a gym for your speaking muscles. It asks you to think fast. When someone makes a point, you don't have hours to think about how to answer. You have seconds. This practice of speaking right away is very helpful. It helps you stop being afraid of being quiet too long or looking for the right word. You learn to speak more smoothly more quickly. Your brain starts to work faster in English. Instead of changing every thought from your first language to English, you begin to think straight in English. This ability to answer right away is the core of speaking well. It means being able to have a talk, to join in, to say what you think without stopping. Debate gives you this constant practice, pushing you to speak clearly and without fear, even when you feel a little unsure. More than just words and speaking, debate is a strong way to learn how you think, and then show that. Thinking in English, debate is not just about shouting what you think. It's about building a case. You have to look at information, decide what is important, and then explain why you believe something. This means you learn to put your thoughts in order. You learn to show a clear main idea, then give reasons for it, and then give proof to show your point is right. This process of making a clear argument, all done in English, makes you better at thinking clearly in English. You start to see problems from different sides and learn how to explain your view so others can understand. It's about learning to share your ideas in a way that convinces people, using English as your tool for clear and smart talking. Perhaps one of the most beautiful results of doing debate is the increase in confidence. Sarah remembered her first debate. Her hands were shaking, and her voice was a little shaky too. But she had prepared her points, and she managed to say them. When she listened to the other side and then answered them, she felt a rush of success. She had spoken, people had understood her, and she had been part of it. With each debate, that nervousness got less. She saw that making a mistake was not the end of everything. It was just a chance to learn. The more she practiced, the more she saw that she could speak English, she could share her ideas, and people could understand her. This growing confidence is very important. It makes you more willing to try, more ready to speak up in everyday life, and less afraid of making mistakes. Debate helps you get over fear of speaking by giving you a safe place to practice and succeed. Let's look closer at how the very way a debate is set up helps. Think about the usual parts of a debate: a beginning speech, where you share your main ideas, a reply, where you answer the other side's points, and a final speech, where you sum up your argument. Each of these parts trains a different skill. The beginning speech helps you practice clear introductions and stating your main idea. The reply is pure practice for listening well and speaking fast and clearly. You have to hear what the other person said and think of an answer right away. This is a big workout for your brain in English. It makes you process information quickly and form a clear sentence on the spot. The final speech helps you practice summing up and making your key points stronger, which is a useful skill for any kind of talking, not just debate. This step-by-step process in debate means you are training specific language skills in a very focused way. What are the common problems English learners have in debates? One big one is finding the right words quickly. You have an idea, but the English word won't come. Debate helps because you are always hearing new words used in the right way. You hear how others use words, and you are forced to try and use them yourself. Another problem is how words are said and the sound of speaking. When you listen closely to others in a debate, you start to notice their rhythm, which words they say louder, and how their voice goes up and down. This helps you speak better. Also, many learners find it hard to say they disagree or to make arguments against someone else. Phrases like "I disagree because" or "while that might be true," think about this, are very important in debate. By using these phrases again and again in a helpful setting, they become natural. The debate format, with its clear roles and steps, gives a clear way to practice these often hard parts of English. It breaks down the hard task of speaking into steps that can be handled, letting learners build their skills little by little. By actively joining in the clear back and forth of debate, English learners don't just learn new words. They learn to think, listen, and speak with new clearness and confidence. This basic understanding of how debate makes language skills better sets the ground for looking at the specific kinds of debates that are most helpful for learners. 2. Thinking clearly in English. Sometimes, when we learn a new language, our thoughts feel messy. We might know the words, but putting them together to make sense, especially when we need to speak fast, is hard. It's like having puzzle pieces but not knowing how to fit them. This is where debate for English learners is really helpful. It's not just about talking more. It's about learning to think clearly in English. Imagine a student named Maria. Maria was smart and worked hard. She knew many English words and understood grammar rules. But when she had to give a talk in her English class, her mind went blank. She had many ideas, but they wouldn't come out in a clear way. She would start one idea, then jump to another, then forget what she wanted to say. Her classmates, who were also learning English, looked confused. Maria felt her face get hot, and she wished she could disappear. She felt like her English brain wasn't working right. Maria's problem was not a lack of English words. It was a lack of practice in organizing her thoughts when she felt rushed and doing it in English. She felt like she was trying to build a house with good bricks, but without a plan. The bricks were there, but the shape was missing. This is where the power of debate for English fluency helps. This is our special idea in this book, using planned arguments and talks as a smart way to get better at English. It's not just about talking. It's about learning to build your thoughts, bit by bit, in English, so others can understand you. Think of taking part in a debate like a great exercise for your brain, especially for your English thinking muscles. When you are in a debate, you can't just say anything that comes to your mind. You have to do several important things, and you have to do them in English. First, you need to find the main point. What is the main question or problem you are talking about? In a debate, this is usually very clear. For example, the question might be, should schools give students more homework? Just understanding this question and thinking about what it means in English is the first step. Next, you must decide your position. This means choosing if you are for or against the idea. Are you saying yes, more homework is good, or no, more homework is bad? You have to pick a side. This simple act of choosing and stating your position in English is very important. It makes you decide and get ready to support your choice. Then comes the really important part. You need to find reasons to support your idea. Why do you think more homework is good? Or why is it bad? You can't just say because I think so. You need reasons. Maybe you believe more homework helps students learn better. That's one reason. Maybe you think students need more free time for sports or family. That's another reason. You might even use examples from your own life or from things you've read. Finding these reasons and explaining them in English is like building a strong wall for your argument. Each reason is a brick, and the explanation is the glue that holds it all together. And because it's a debate, you also have to think about what the other side will say. What will they say to disagree with you? If you say more homework is good, they might say it makes students too tired. So, you need to think about how you will answer that. Maybe you will say, yes, students can get tired, but good homework can be interesting and make them want to learn, not just busy work. This thinking ahead is like practicing your moves before a game. You think about what your opponent might do and you plan your answer. All these steps, finding the main point, choosing a side, finding reasons, and thinking about what others will say, make you organize your thoughts. And when you do this in English, your brain starts to build ways to think clearly in that language. It's like teaching your brain a new way to work, a way that is made just for English. The way a debate is set up is like a helpful guide for your thoughts. It usually starts with an opening talk. This is where you clearly state your main idea and the reasons you will talk about. Then, you have answers to the other side, where you respond to what they say. Finally, there's a closing statement to sum up your argument. This structure teaches you to organize your English thoughts bit by bit. You learn to start with a clear point. You don't want to hide your main idea in the middle of a long speech. You want to put it right at the start, like saying, "Hello, this is what I am going to talk about." Then, you learn to build your point step by step. This means using words and phrases that join your ideas smoothly. Instead of jumping from one idea to another without warning, you might say, "My first reason is then," another important point is, or also. These joining words are like little bridges that help your listener follow your thinking. They guide the listener from one thought to the next, making your argument easy to understand. And at the end, you learn to finish with a strong summary. This is where you remind everyone of your main message and your strongest reasons. It's like saying, "So, to sum up, we saw that this helps your listener remember what you said and feel sure about your argument." This planned way of talking makes your English communication much clearer and more effective. Debates also push you to do more than just say what you think. They ask you to explain the why and how behind what you believe. It's not enough to say, "I think this is important." You have to explain why it's important and how your proof shows your point. This makes you understand the topic better and, more importantly, makes you better at explaining hard ideas in English. You learn to connect your reasons to your claims, showing a clear path that others can follow. This skill is very useful, not just in debates, but in any situation where you need to explain yourself clearly. One of the most helpful skills learned in debate is responding with exactness. When someone else speaks, you have to listen carefully. You need to quickly understand their point. This is called active listening. You can't just wait for your turn to speak. You must really hear and understand what the other person is saying. Then, you need to find the weak spot or mistake in their argument. Where does their thinking go wrong? What proof are they missing? What is not clear about what they said? Finding this is like spotting a loose brick in their wall. Finally, you must create a short, clear answer. This means stating your disagreement clearly and directly without being rude. You might say, I understand your point about X, but it doesn't think about Y, which is why my position is stronger. This ability to think quickly, to understand, look at, and respond fast and clearly comes from debate practice. It's a skill that will help you in every talk, every meeting, and every discussion you have in English. How does the pressure of a debate, where you must answer quickly, make an English learner organize their thoughts better than, for example, writing an essay? Well, writing an essay gives you time. You can write, erase, rewrite, and think for as long as you need. You can look up words and spend hours making the perfect sentence. It's like having all the time in the world to build the house. But in a debate, especially when you have to answer someone else's points, you don't have that much time. You hear an argument, and in a few seconds, you need to understand it, decide how to answer, and then say it clearly in English. This pressure is like a fast training session for your brain. Your mind has to work much faster to find the right words, connect them in a logical way, and say them out loud. It makes you use the structures and words you already know, but to use them in a more organized and immediate way. You can't look for the perfect word. You have to use the best word you can find right now. This speed is built through practice. It trains your brain to find and organize your English thoughts more quickly and effectively. It's like learning to swim in rough water instead of a calm pool. You become a stronger swimmer. What specific parts of debate directly train the brain to think in a more organized and logical way in English? Let's look closely. First, defining words. In debates, it is often important to agree on what words mean. For example, if you are debating freedom, what does that word mean here? This makes you think about the exact meaning of English words and how to explain them clearly. This process of defining words and ideas helps you build a more logical base for your arguments. Second, giving proof. As we talked about, you can't just state an opinion. You need to support it. This means learning to find, choose, and show helpful information that supports your claims. You have to connect your proof to your main point, showing a clear link between cause and effect. This trains your brain to think in a logical way. If this is true, then that must be true too. Third, proving others wrong. This is the skill of disagreeing politely and effectively. You have to understand the other person's argument, find a mistake in it, and then explain why it's a mistake. This needs logical thinking. You might point out a contradiction, a lack of proof, or a wrong idea. This practice makes you better at spotting mistakes in logic and building arguments that don't have them. Fourth, bad logic. Good debaters learn to spot common mistakes in thinking, called fallacies. For example, attacking the person instead of their argument, or thinking something is true just because many people believe it. By learning to see these, you also learn to avoid them in your own thinking and speaking. This makes your English arguments stronger and more logical. All these parts, when practiced in English, teach your brain to build arguments in an organized, logical way. You are not just remembering phrases. You are learning to build them, connect them, and defend them, all within the structure of English. This is the heart of thinking clearly in English. Remember Maria, the student who had trouble with her talk? After she started going to a debate club, things began to change. At first, it was hard. She stumbled over her words and felt nervous. But with each debate, she got a little better. She learned to prepare her points ahead of time, not just memorize them, but to understand the logic behind them. She practiced explaining her reasons clearly. When someone disagreed with her, she learned to pause, listen, and then answer with a well-thought-out response instead of getting Upset. One day, during a class talk about a book they had all read, Maria found herself able to say her opinion clearly and with confidence. She stated her main point, gave examples from the book to support it, and even answered thoughtfully when a classmate had a different idea. Her teacher and classmates saw the difference. Maria felt a huge feeling of relief and pride. She realized that debate hadn't just made her a better English speaker, it had taught her how to organize her thoughts and say them clearly and with confidence, even when speaking English. Once you have learned to put your thoughts into clear arguments, the next important step in effective debate, and in clearer talking overall, is to truly understand what others are saying. This leads us to the very important skill of active listening, which is the foundation of any successful conversation. 3. Speaking confidently in English. Many people learning English have a quiet fear. It's like a small voice inside that says, "Don't talk. You might make a mistake. People will laugh." This fear can stop you from sharing your good ideas or even asking for help. It's a common problem, and it stops many good voices from being heard. But what if I told you there's a way to quiet that voice? You can do it by facing it in a way that feels safe and helpful. This is where the amazing power of debate for English fluency really helps, especially when you want to feel more sure of yourself when you speak. Think about a normal talk. It can be surprising. Someone asks you something and you must answer right away. You might worry about finding the right words, using the right grammar, or if your accent sounds funny. It feels like a test you take all the time. This constant worry can make anyone feel shy and slow to speak. Debate, though, is like a different kind of stage. It has a clear plan. There are rules, there are turns to speak, and there is a topic. This plan is like a safety net. Instead of everyone watching and judging you, you have a specific job to share your ideas and answer what the other person says. This clear plan is very helpful. It lets you focus your energy on what you want to say and how to say it in English, without the added worry of people judging you all the time. You know when it's your turn to speak, and you know what you need to do. This clearness makes it much easier to start talking. Let's think about Sarah. Sarah is a smart woman from Korea who is learning English. She understands much when people speak, but when it's her turn to talk in a group, her mind goes empty. She worries so much about making mistakes that she often just smiles and nods, even when she has something important to say. One day, her teacher told her to join a debate group. Sarah was very scared. The idea of standing up and speaking in front of others, trying to argue a point, seemed impossible. She imagined herself saying words wrong, her face turning red, and being completely misunderstood. Her first debate was about if children should have homework. Sarah was on the side that said yes. She had practiced what she wanted to say at home, writing it down carefully. But when the debate began, and the other person started talking, her heart beat fast. She felt that old fear coming back. But her teacher had told them to focus on the plan. Sarah knew she had a set time to speak, and that she needed to listen to the other person's ideas to answer them. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath. She did not try to be perfect. She just tried to say the words she had practiced. She said that homework helps children learn to be responsible and to practice what they learned at school. She spoke slowly, and yes, she made a small mistake with a verb. But something wonderful happened. The other person listened, and when it was their turn again, they answered her point directly, not in a mean way, but to share a different idea. Sarah saw that her mistake had not stopped the talk. It had not ruined everything. It was just a small part of the discussion. This was a big change for Sarah. The planned way of debating made it feel less like a personal attack and more like a game of ideas. This brings us to how practicing by responding helps you speak better. In everyday life, we often have short talks. We ask how someone is, they ask how we are, and we give short answers. But in a debate, you must do more. You must listen closely to what the other person says, understand their idea, and then form your own answer using English. This is not just remembering words, it's using them in a live, changing situation. It's like learning to swim by getting in the water, not just reading about it. When you were in a debate, you were always practicing thinking fast. Your brain works hard to understand things and say your thoughts in spoken English quickly. This constant work makes your language muscles stronger. The more you do it, the easier it is to find the right words, to connect your ideas, and to say what you mean clearly. That pause you feel when asked a question in a normal talk starts to get smaller because you have trained your brain to answer fast. You are not just learning phrases by heart, you are learning to use the language without thinking too much. This active use of English is the main part of debate for English fluency. It's this active, responsive practice that makes your speaking feel more natural and less like a show. Sarah started noticing this in her debate group. At first, she would stop for a long time before speaking, looking for words. But as she took part in more debates, she found herself needing to answer the other person's ideas right away. She had to think fast. What did they just say? How can I disagree with that? What English words can I use to explain my different idea? This made her use her words and grammar faster. She was not just saying words she had learned, she was making new sentences based on how the debate was going. This practice made her feel more comfortable with how fast English conversations happen. She started to feel less like she was trying hard to keep up and more like she was truly joining in. Besides thinking, debates also help you have a stronger voice in both how you sound and how you feel. When you are sharing an idea, you need to be heard. You learn to make your voice louder, to speak clearly, and to use your body to help your words. This physical act of speaking with confidence, standing straight, looking at people, and speaking loudly, directly affects how sure you feel. It's not just about having good ideas, it's about sharing them with belief. Think about it. When you speak softly, or when you look at the ground, it can make you feel less sure, and it can make others think you are less sure. Debates encourage you to get past this. You are encouraged to be strong, to make your points clear, and to protect your ideas. This mix of speaking clearly and having good ideas builds a strong feeling of being sure of yourself. You start to believe that your own thoughts are valuable and that you can share them. This inner strength, this belief in your own voice, is a very important part of becoming someone who speaks English with confidence. Sarah, for example, used to speak very softly. In her first debates, she would whisper her points, hoping no one would notice she was nervous. But her debate teacher told her to speak louder to make sure everyone in the room could hear her. She practiced saying her ideas with more sound and clarity. As she did this, she noticed that when she spoke louder, she also felt a little braver. It was like her voice was carrying her confidence. She started looking at the people listening and the other speakers more. This change in how she spoke made her feel more present and more in control. One of the biggest problems for people learning English is the fear of making mistakes. We are often told to avoid errors at all costs, which makes us very worried. But in debates, mistakes are not the end. They are often chances to learn. The other person might show a weakness in your thinking, or you might say a word wrong. Instead of seeing this as a failure, you learn to see it as helpful information. It's a chance to learn, to make things clear, and to get better. When you are in a debate, you are not expected to be perfect. You are expected to join in, to think, and to communicate. If you make a mistake, the other person's answer will often help you fix it, or at least understand where you were wrong. This changes errors from something to be scared of into something that helps you grow. This change in how you see things is very freeing. It reduces the strong fear that stops many learners from speaking. You start to understand that talking is a process, and mistakes are a normal part of that process. Sarah learned this lesson when she was debating about school uniforms. She strongly believed that uniforms made everyone equal. However, the other person had a very strong idea about how uniforms can limit how students show who they are. When Sarah tried to answer, she accidentally used two words wrong, which changed what she meant and made it sound a little funny. She felt a rush of shame. But the other person, instead of laughing, just paused and then said, "I understand your point about equality, but let me explain more why showing who you are is also very important for young people." They did not focus on her mistake. They used it as a moment to keep the talk going. Sarah saw that her small slip had not stopped the debate. It had actually given the other person a chance to explain more, and it had shown her that even with mistakes, the talk could continue and be useful. This experience gave her a lot of confidence. She began to see mistakes not as walls, but as short turns on the road to clearer talking. Finally, let's talk about the power of getting ready. Before a debate, you look into a topic, you organize your thoughts, and you guess what the other person might say. This preparation builds a lot of confidence. When you know you have done your work, when you have strong ideas and proof to support your position, you feel much safer. You are not going into the situation not ready and just hoping for the best. You are going in with a plan, with knowledge, and with the tools you need to do well. This preparation gives you a strong base. It makes you less worried because you know you have something to say and you know how to say it. You have thought about possible problems and have answers ready. This feeling of being ready is very strong. It lets you focus on sharing your message rather than worrying if you have any message at all. The act of preparing your ideas for a debate is itself a powerful way to practice debate for English fluency. It makes you think hard about a topic and say your ideas in English, which directly makes your speaking better. Sarah found that the more she prepared for her debates, the less nervous she felt. She started spending time not just writing down her points, but also thinking about what the other side might say. She would even practice her ideas out loud in front of a mirror. This process made her feel much more in control. When the debate started, she was not just hoping she remembered her points. She knew them. She had a clear understanding of her position and the reasons why. This preparation gave her the confidence to speak up, knowing that she was ready to share her well-thought-out ideas. So, you see, speaking with confidence in English is not just about knowing more words or grammar. It's about getting past fear, building skills, and developing the way you think so you can use English well. The planned practice of debate gives a special and strong way to achieve this. It creates a safe place for you to try, to answer, to be heard, and to learn from every time you talk. By always taking on the challenges and successes of debate, people learning English don't just get better words or grammar. They build inner strength and belief in their ability to communicate well. This new confidence is the base on which more advanced talking skills are built, leading us to explore how to make strong arguments in the next section. 4. Improving English skills through debate. Learning a new language can feel like trying to build a nice house with many different tools. You might have many perfect bricks, words, and good plans, grammar rules, but sometimes, putting it all together to make a strong, livable house feels impossible. You know the parts, but making them work together well right when you need them is the hard part. This is especially true for speaking. Many English learners find they understand a lot when they read or listen, but when it's their turn to speak, The words get stuck, or they worry about making mistakes. They might even think in their own language and then try to change it to English, which is slow and often makes sentences sound strange. This is where the special power of debate for English fluency truly works. It's not just another way to practice English. It's a strong method that uses arguing and talking to help you speak better and think faster. Think of it as not just learning to use the tools, but learning to build something amazing with them, when you have to, with a clear goal. It's about going from knowing English to using English. Let's look closely at how this amazing process works, step by step. Building smooth speaking through active talking. One of the biggest problems for English learners is speaking clearly and without stopping. We often hear people say, "I understand English perfectly, but I can't speak it." This is where debates make a big difference. In a debate, you don't just say sentences you have learned by heart. You have to make up sentences right when you need them. You have to say your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings in English right at that moment. Imagine you are in a debate about whether schools should have longer holidays. You might have to say that longer holidays are good for students. You can't just say, "Holidays good." You need to say, "I believe longer holidays are good for students because they give them more time to rest and grow." See the difference? This sentence is not a simple phrase you would find in a book. You built it yourself, using what you know about English, to make your point. Debates make you use connecting words like because, so, but, and also. These words are like glue that holds your sentences and your ideas together. When you are always looking for the right words to connect your ideas, you start to remember them better. You also start to use them more naturally. This constant practice of making sentences and linking them together under the friendly pressure of a debate is what builds real speaking skill. It's like training for a race. The more you run, the stronger and faster you become. With debate, the more you speak, the more fluent you become. You learn to think in English, not just change words from another language. This is the main idea of debate for English fluency, using English actively, without planning too much and all the time. Making thinking and arguing better. Debate is not just about speaking, it's also about thinking. And not just thinking, but thinking clearly and in a sensible way. This is a very important part of debate for English fluency. When you get ready for a debate, you have to do more than just know the topic. You have to think hard about it. You need to understand different sides of the issue. You must be able to form your own ideas and then find good reasons to support those ideas. Let's go back to the school holidays example. If you are arguing for longer holidays, you can't just say, "I like long holidays." You need to think about why they are good. Maybe longer holidays help students feel less tired and worried. Maybe they give students time to learn new things outside of school, like playing a musical instrument or learning a new sport. Maybe they help families spend more good time together. These are all reasons, and in a debate, you need to say these reasons clearly. You also learn to guess what the other side might say. If you say longer holidays are good for rest, the other side might say, "But if holidays are too long, students will forget what they learned in school." So, you need to be ready to answer that. You might say, "It's true that students need to remember what they learned, but longer holidays can also be a time for learning in a practical way, like visiting museums or doing projects, which helps them understand subjects in a different way." This process of thinking about a topic, forming reasons, and getting ready for answers trains your brain to think in an organized way. You learn to put your thoughts in order. You learn to present your ideas in a clear, step-by-step way. This skill of thinking well is very important, not just for debates, but for everything in life, for understanding news, for making choices, and for talking well in any situation. Debate for English fluency makes your mind sharper, and that sharp mind then helps you use English more powerfully. Making listening and responding better. One of the most forgotten parts of learning a language is listening. We often focus so much on speaking that we forget how important it is to really understand what others are saying. Debates are great for improving this. In a debate, you can't just wait for your turn to speak. You have to listen very, very carefully to the person who is speaking before you, because you need to understand their ideas so you can answer them. If the other team says, longer holidays will make students lazy, and you weren't listening, you might just say your first point again about students needing rest. But if you listened, you can answer directly. The person speaking against me says that longer holidays will make students lazy. However, I do not agree. In fact, with more free time, students can explore hobbies and develop skills that are not taught in school, making them more complete people, not lazy ones. This kind of answer shows you were paying attention and that you can think quickly. It's a much better way to debate than just giving a speech you wrote down. This needs active listening. Active listening means not just hearing the words, but understanding what they mean, finding the main points, and thinking about how those points connect to your own ideas. Debates also help you get used to different ways of speaking and different accents. In a classroom, everyone might speak in a similar way. But in a debate, you might hear people speak faster, slower, with different tones, or with different accents. This helps you become a better listener in all situations. When you are good at listening, you can join in conversations more fully, understand instructions better, and build better relationships with people. This makes your understanding of debate for English fluency deeper by showing it's a two-way street. Speaking well and listening well go together. Learning more words and phrases in use. We all know that learning new words is important for speaking English. But just memorizing lists of words can be boring and not very helpful. How many times have you learned a new word, felt proud, and then never used it again because you didn't know how or when to use it? This is where debate helps again. In a debate, you want to use the best words to make your argument as strong as possible. If you are debating about the environment, you might need to use words like lasting, pollution, protecting nature, or energy. That can be used again. When you hear these words used by others in a debate, and then you try to use them yourself to make a point, you learn them much better. You understand not just what the word means, but how it fits into a sentence and how it helps you say a particular idea. Debates also introduce you to common sayings and phrases that people who speak English all the time use. You might hear someone say, "We need to find the main problem," or "That's a good idea," but it won't work. When you hear these phrases used naturally when people are arguing, you start to understand what they mean and how to use them yourself. This is much better than trying to learn them from a list. For example, if you were debating about why exercise is important, you might hear someone say, "We need to get people off the couch and moving." This is a colorful and common saying. When you hear it when people are trying to get others to be more active, you understand what it means and might even want to use it in your own argument. This learning through real situations makes your words better and your English sound more natural. It's a key part of debate for English fluency because it makes sure you are learning and using language in real, useful ways. Making confidence stronger and worry less about speaking. Maybe one of the most important benefits of debate for English fluency is how it makes you feel more confident. Many English learners feel worried about speaking. They worry about making mistakes, being judged, or not being understood. This fear can be a huge problem for getting better. Debate gives you a planned and safe place to get over this fear. When you take part in a debate, you are asked to speak up, share your ideas, and defend your position. At first, it might feel scary. You might feel nervous. your heart might beat faster. But with each debate, as you manage to make sentences, say your thoughts, and even answer others, you start to feel good about what you've done. Think about Lena, who is learning English from Korea. Lena was very shy and found it hard to speak in her English class. She understood her teacher well, but when the teacher asked a question, Lena would always stay quiet, even if she knew the answer. She worried that her way of saying words was not good, or that her grammar would be wrong. Her teacher suggested she join a debate club. Lena was very unsure. The idea of speaking in front of people, arguing a point, seemed very frightening. Her first debate was about whether homework should be stopped. Lena was asked to argue for stopping homework. She got her points ready carefully, writing down every sentence. When it was her turn, her voice shook a little. She read her first sentence and then her second. She said a word wrong, and for a moment, she felt that familiar panic. But then she remembered her teacher's advice. It's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to keep going. She took a breath and continued. She managed to explain her reasons for stopping homework, focusing on the idea that children need time to play and rest. After her first debate, Lena felt tired, but also surprisingly proud. She had spoken. She had shared her ideas. Even though it was not perfect, she had done it. In the next debate, she felt a little less nervous. She found herself looking at her teammates for support and listening more closely to the other side, not just to find a way to answer, but because she was truly interested in what they had to say. Over time, Lena's confidence grew. She started to speak more freely without reading every word. She learned to think faster and answer more naturally. She even started to enjoy the challenge. By the end of the year, Lena was no longer the shy student who stayed quiet. She was an active person in class talks, her English clearer and more confident. Her story shows the power of debate for English fluency. It changes fear into bravery, not wanting to speak into speaking clearly, and silence into a strong, clear voice. The planned way debate works allows learners to practice speaking in a way that builds confidence slowly, making them more comfortable and able to talk in all parts of their lives. By actively joining in the planned challenge of debate, English learners don't just learn new words. They learn to think and speak in English with new clarity and confidence. This strong base of better talking and thinking clearly naturally leads us to explore the special ways and methods that make debate such a strong help for fluency. Conclusion: you are at the very end of our time together, and it has been a great trip. Many people learning English feel a bit stuck. They might feel shy to speak. Finding the right words can feel like looking for a tiny needle in a huge pile of hay. Sharing big ideas can feel like climbing a very, very tall mountain. You might have worried about making mistakes. You might have felt your English was not good enough to share what you really think. But this book showed a different way. It gave you a strong tool to help you do more. We learned that debating is not just about winning an argument. It is about building your confidence. It is about making your English better and stronger. It is the special bridge that helps you understand English and use it well. It makes your brain work faster and think more clearly in English. This helps you speak with more confidence and feel more relaxed. The main idea we explored was debate for English fluency. This does not just mean speaking fast, though that can happen. Being truly fluent means people understand you clearly. It means you feel sure of yourself when you speak. It means you use English the right way and in a natural way. It means you can change how you speak for different talks. Debate helps you do this in many ways. When you build an argument, you learn to put your thoughts in order. You learn to do this clearly and with good reasons, all in English. When you listen closely to others, you get better at understanding different voices and ideas. You learn how to answer in a way that makes sense. When you must think fast and give an answer, it trains your brain to find the words you need. It is like a muscle getting stronger when you use it. Every time you explain your idea clearly, you practice how to be understood. Think of it like learning to swim. Reading about swimming is good, but you only learn to swim well by getting in the water and practicing. Debate is your English swimming pool. This fluency is also linked to thinking better. You learn to look at ideas, ask questions about them, and make your own choices, all while thinking in English. You have worked very hard to get here. Taking this book and thinking about these ideas shows you really want to grow. You have put time and effort into yourself and your ability to connect with others using English. The skills you practiced are not meant to be put away. They are tools for you to use. You can make them even better. You can grow with them every day. Keep debating. Find clubs where you can debate. Join groups online. Or practice by yourself in front of a mirror. You can also talk about ideas with friends. You can use these debate skills in your daily life. In your talks with people, try to listen more carefully. Can you explain your ideas more clearly? Can you think about what someone else might say before they say it? Try to talk about things you care about. You can even write down your thoughts. Remember, every time you stop to find a word, or every time you make a small mistake, it is not a sign that you failed. It is a sign that you are learning and growing. The debate place is a safe place to make these mistakes and become stronger. As you go forward, remember what this book promised. Speak up. Think clear. Let the power of debate help you speak with confidence and think clearly through all your English learning. Imagine the wonderful things that can happen when you can speak English with confidence. Think about meeting people from all over the world. Think about sharing your ideas in meetings. Think about finding new chances that need good communication. This is not a dream for the future. It is something you are building right now. It is built with every debate you join. This book has given you a way to become fluent and clear that works well and is enjoyable. You have the knowledge. You have the ways to do it. And now, you have the growing confidence to use them. So go forward. Think clear. Use the amazing power of debate. Make sure people hear your voice and understand your thoughts. Let your English learning be a great success. The world is ready to hear from you. Your journey to mastering English with a clear mind and a confident voice begins now.